We are going to rock and roll. So, what's up, Facebook Live? Man, we are so excited that you are tuned in with us tonight. As most of you know, whether you've intentionally jumped on board with us or maybe you just accidentally scrolled across this live stream here at Life Church, we are in the middle of Family Fest, where we are taking each week, we're picking up a different topic that we want to just give practical answers to questions that families are asking. And so this past Sunday, we actually talked about making moments and some of the dynamic inside of families. And so one of the questions that does commonly get asked, because family is extremely, extremely eclectic, and it comes in all shapes and sizes. And there's single parent families. There are families that are blended, which is what we're going to be discussing tonight right here. Then there's families that maybe take on other shapes and sizes. So all those completely fine, acceptable. But tonight, if you know somebody who is a blended family, they're trying to raise kids, trying to build strong families and a strong marriage, I want to invite you to call them right now, tell them to tune in, and they can join in with us in just this topical discussion. We won't be exhaustive and be able to answer every question that might be on your heart, but I do know these three incredible couples. And if at any point in time in the future, you want just somebody to talk to, somebody that would understand some of the tensions and struggles you're walking through, I know all three of these couples would not mind having a conversation with you at all. So to get us started tonight, I'm going to let you guys go one at a time. In about 10 seconds, 15 seconds, tell us your family dynamic. Tell us what your family looks like, how long you've been married, your kids, and then maybe even the makeup of your blended family. So we'll start up here. I don't know what y'all's screen looks like on mine. Jason, Misty, you're in the top, and Green Hills, you're in the bottom. Jackson's, you're in the bottom right. So we'll start top left. Go ahead, take us off, Reeves.
All right, I'm Jason. This is my wife, Misty. We've been married, be 19 years in December. Our boys are 25 and 23, and our girls are both 22. And anyway, they're all grown now. So
cool. No, definitely part of the seasons of a blended family. So y'all raised your youngins and
yes.
Now got grandbabies. So be interested to see some of your dynamics. So Green Hills, go ahead.
Hi, Jason. Green Hills, my wife Andrea. We've been married going on 14 years now. Jake is our oldest. He is 17 and Brady is 12.
Awesome. Good stuff. Jackson's.
I'm Joy, and this is John, and we have 4 children, 22, 21, 18, and 9.
Wow. So you got a 9-year gap there. So y'all get to, so here was our goal with this panel, is it maybe you see just a broad aspect. So we've got some who've already been through the rendering of kids, some who are in the middle of it right now, and some who kind of mix of both. So all right, so we're going to jump into this, and then I'll let you guys pick who wants to speak to, and then we're just going to have a conversation that hopefully we can answer some of this. So what tension points do you guys think are normal in a blended family? And the reason I ask this question is I think sometimes people feel like their family is weird. Our family's struggling with something that no other family struggles with. And so what are norms in a blended family that you think that the normal blended family struggles with?
Let me say something. I'll say something. I think in the beginning, a lot of times you have to deal with the exes of who they was married to in the beginning. That causes some conflict because they kind of feel in certain times, they kind of feel like, that's still like they may have more say so or still have an opinion about what's taking place in your house. And then you've got the aspect of the kids going what you're teaching them at your house and then what they're teaching at their house. And then you have that coming together, and you wouldn't think that it would cause conflict, but when they come back to your house and you're raising them in church and you're doing this, that, or whatever, and the rules that you have set, your kids or maybe their kids has been at your house, so it hadn't changed for them, but these kids come back, the other set, come back, and then you got that conflict taking place.
Yeah.
So that causes conflict too. So you just have to, that's one of the main things that we got in order in the beginning is, we're husband and wife, and we had to put the exes were they in their place as well. And, that's some of the things we had to address and get that part in order first, because I know families now that are still struggling with that. And it's nothing more than the ex-husband or ex-wife still trying to run both houses. And, it don't work like that.
No, that's good. And we'll come back. And actually, I've got that question kind of there. So really what it is, there's a tension that's created because you're trying to raise a child who's pulled in two different directions, two different sets of values, two different boundaries maybe that are set. So Green Hills, I want all y'all to give an answer to this question. What do y'all think some norms are tension-wise?
And he touched on that. That was good stuff. But into the discipline area of it with, I guess, who administering it, right? And who's equal, who's fair and all that. That got on my nerves from the very get-go, right?
Right. Yeah. So when you're talking about being fair and equality in the aspect of you as in a stepdad role, that you're talking about in that dynamic, kind of being a normal tension, or are you talking, expound on that just a little bit, drill just a little bit what you meant by that?
I guess one feeling like the other, getting more, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or getting off the hook on other stuff.
Yeah. So a level of favoritism that you're trying to find this balance,
That goes what they got away with, like Jason was saying, like they got away with at the other house, what they were able to do.
Yeah.
They bring it home, different things.
Yeah. Andrew, you're nodding. You got any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I really agree with what he's saying, because you deal with that situation when we had to deal with visitation and different things are allowed at the different home. And then the one comes back and it's different here. And then you got a younger one that's been here the whole time and the rules have been stable and stayed the same. And then, and it's human nature. Oh, well, that's not fair. You love them more, or, so it's, he didn't have to do this and I do, or, it's stuff as simple as chores, and this one did more because he was here, and it's to find, middle ground and make everybody, life's not fair. That's the big motto.
Yeah. And you know what, here's why I started with this question, and we're going to let Jackson's answer too, is because tension in a I'll say a normal, I don't want to even use that terminology. Tension in a traditional setup in a family exists. And then what happens when there's a blended family, there's just the tension is even heightened and it's multiplied. And there's tensions that you guys have had to walk through that Aaron and I have not got to walk through with our children. And so we could literally probably take a whole live stream and do nothing but talk about what you guys just unpacked. And we're going to come back and visit that here in a minute. But I want to just kind of just set a baseline to say the fact that tension's not a bad thing. It's how we handle that tension and how we steer that as parents, and trying to all march the same direction. That's important. So John and Joy, all right, give us what's a normal tension inside of a blended family household?
So one thing that I see a lot of families now, and we went through the same thing, is all the things that were spoken about. But the one tension is how quick do you expect things to be what you would say normal? I think a lot of things, you get married, plug and play, and we're going, and it don't work like that.
Yeah.
It might take 3 years before everybody kind of finds their niche and you find what works for your household. And I think a lot of, I know there was a lot of tensions where why is this so hard? Why is it so hard? And I think a lot of it's not going to work day one is the big thing. And it's going to take time, and it takes that dedication to the marriage, first.
Yeah.
And then you have to work around it with the kids and the disciplines and the going back and forth kind of things. But I think the biggest thing is let there be time. Don't give up. It takes a while. It's not a an instant kind of thing.
That's awesome. I want to tag off that. So what advice, second question wrote down, what advice would you give parents who are steering jealousy that's happening between the kids? So you're also trying to blend the kids who may have one may be stepmom, one may be stepdad, whatever. Maybe some advice that if you were counseling them right now face to face and you go, hey, this is a tension point, there's some jealousy manifesting. What's some action steps maybe y'all tried, you tried and failed, you tried and did right? What would you tell them?
One thing that we had, you talking to me?
Whoever wants to go. It's a free flowing conversation.
One time we had this conversation that, that one of us was showing more partial or favoritism towards one than the other. And over the years, our girls was 3 when we got married and our boys was 5 and 7. And we never did, I don't think stepmom, stepdad, I think that's something that it's mom and dad. And that's why I used to tell my kids, if I feed you, I'm claiming you're mine. And, that's what, and that's the way you want it to be. You don't want to force that on them, but you want it to be, that's my dad or that's my mom, and have that kind of bond and love. But, one of the things that we realize is over the years, like Misty was closer to my daughter than I was. They did more things together, and I'm more, me and Ashley are closer. She's like, all my kids are like mine, and her, same with her. But, we bond, and she likes deer hunting, and my daughter don't like doing that stuff. And so we bonded that way. And then with the boys, me and Levi are closer, and then Jay's closer to his mom. And so you can sit down and you have to realize that it's not that you're doing anything on purpose, not that you're doing anything intentional or anything like that. And the kids, they'll realize, just like with certain friends that they do stuff with, and not that you're trying to be their buddy or anything, but there's certain things that you do and they'll realize. And a lot of time, it just takes time, like John was talking about. It just takes time for things to get in place and to work out for your family and stuff like that. But anyway.
I would also say to, like, for people in the younger years, just something, if I look back, I see a lot of mistakes I made when the kids were younger. So especially if you have younger kids and you come in and you're a blended family, even though, naturally as a mom, so I carried my children. So there's a different kind of love there. But as the years went on, it's literally like I carried Levi, and it's like I carried Caitlin. But the areas that I seen where I made mistakes is, I would say, look at that child as, like with Jason, I love him. So if I love him, then I need to love that child, because that child is important to him. So I need to do everything in my effort to love that child,
I want to chase one small rabbit right there, because I've actually been asked this question before, and I'd love to hear the consensus of opinion of, do you force the child to call you mom or dad if they're not things? So one of your other couples speak to that. Tell me, how did that play out in y'all's relationship? Because that's a real issue. They're going, hey, am I John? Am I Joy? Am I Mama Two? Whatever. How did that play out for you guys?
I'm John to the boys, and she's Joy to Anna. Of course, Ava's, we're mom and dad. So we never did. And it wasn't even really a conversation. It just kind of, we just let it be that way. And I think one thing you need think about, and this can go with everything, is how involved the other parents are, the exes are.
Right.
I know a lot of times in our situation, the exes were very involved in every part of their life. So that kind of stared itself as far as, mom, dad, and just by name. But I can see where if the other exes would not, you want to fill that role, and like me, she ended up she did fill that role.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a big difference in things.
Jason, Andrea, y'all give your thoughts on that.
Well, I think every situation is different. And especially when the kids are younger, you don't need to make them feel like it's, one, that it's forced on them, and two, it creates a tension between the ex. So longest time, Jake was 3 when we met, 4 when we got married. And he was Jason. for a long time. Sort of over time, he's back.
Right.
So I don't remember at what point that changed. But
At the end of the day, I think the child is what we're trying to parent, the teenager, the toddler, the infant, whatever. And so I don't know if there is a rubber stamp, hey, if they're it's different for each situation. But I think that's good. So let's bounce back to what advice would you give? The Reeve spoke to that. What would y'all give somebody who feels like their kids are dealing with that jealousy situation between the difference in blending the family? So Jackson or Greenhill, y'all gonna speak to that?
I guess kind of how we dealt with it as far as the jealousy between is to try to make everything equal. And it is hard because like Missy said, she carried the boys and you do have that special bond. So you do in the beginning, you're going to have that, hey, that's my kid.
Yeah.
That's your kid, but we kind of settled it and it helped us. And it still helps today when we want to do something for them or discipline is our stance was if you do it to one, you got to do it to all of them. So if one of them wanted $100 pair of shoes, they all three got $100 pair of shoes. And that's real quick. It calls that.
I'll call you daddy, John. I'll be $100 pair of shoes. I'm just playing. Go ahead. No, I understand.
That's kind of when because you do, you want to give your kid everything, and in being in a blended situation, that's something you have to think about is, okay, yeah, I'd like to do that for my kid, but then if we're going to do it for this one, we got to do it for that. And that's all the way up through college, paying for college and after college, not necessarily a toy or tennis shoe. So
the 9-year-old, it's a little different because she's so much younger than, the older ones.
Yeah.
So that's a little different.
She's
both of ours.
She's a sweet.
She's a little spoiled.
Yeah, she's a little spoiled. Daddy's girl. Greenhill, what advice y'all give?
I think what John was thinking of, every situation is different. So, like the parent, whatever, like Jake is strictly here. He's strictly here with us. So it's kind of like, I don't know, as far as purchasing stuff, doing all that, they get stuff when they need it, right? I mean,
right.
They both get stuff, and they're in different stages of their life. And so it's kind of, I don't know why I said 9. But yeah.
That's good. All right. So, hey, let's move. Andrew, do you have anything to add to that? Nope.
No. Add to, I said earlier, life's not so. Like when kids, whatever age, have to grow up with kind of adult-like situations, it creates a level of maturity, good life lessons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right.
When they're college or they're or whatever, yeah, coworkers, that's not fair. This one got that. I mean, life.
I can see this issue being escalated because even Aaron and I having 3 kids, we get it, and they're all 3 biologically ours. So they're going like, that's not. So we battle that. So it's that issue and topic has got to just be escalated when you add it in the dynamic of blended family. So here's a fun one. All right. So I got a feeling we may have a little bit of diverse opinion. That's okay with this. Jackson, I'm gonna let you start with this one. All right. So talk to me about discipline. How do you handle discipline in a blended family?
You said Jackson's, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, basically, my boy is a little more to handle than his daughter. So it felt like I was disciplining all the time. And John was just there basically to support me. Now, he would call them out if they were disrespecting me. And he would, tell them, you're not going to disrespect my wife,
right?
That kind of thing. But at the end, it was my responsibility to discipline the boys.
And like the boy's dad would always be involved in the discipline as well, if it reached that type of level. So,
Gotcha. So for our listeners, explain, just remind them. So when you say boys, you're talking about your son, her son.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's good. Everybody don't know y'all. So just so because I think that's the tension point. Do you discipline your child that's not your non-biological? You know what I'm saying? There's some tension there. So
the 2 boys are hers, and then Anna is mine. So that's kind of how it felt. And like she said, Anna was kind of low key growing up.
Never got in trouble.
Did her schoolwork, did it better than I could. Never had to tell the boys was
boys.
So what point did you step in, John, and help discipline the boys? Joyce said
it would be mainly if I would support her in her agreement, but if they did anything outside of that, if they disrespected her, number one, I felt like because she's my wife, I wanted to show them that, number one, you don't treat your mother or your wife this way, whether it's talking back or whatever. And then whatever the discipline was, if they were grounded or you can't do this, then I would make sure I would enforce that for her if she was not here.
Gotcha.
Kind of be their enforcer. But I try not to be overbearing or anything, but just kind of stand behind her in conversations and stuff to just, like she says, just support her.
Gotcha.
And you do the same for me.
Yeah. Jason, Andrea.
I mean, honestly, we don't have a whole lot of problems. Last week, it's nothing that a good talk to doesn't. We just sit down and everybody talks on it, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, and I'll tell Brady if we can talk man to man, or we can go in here and you can be a child, and it usually straightens things up.
Yeah. Got you. Andrew,
I agree. We didn't. Sometimes I felt like we didn't do it quite right because it was. Sometimes I'm like Joy. Like boys are harder or when they're younger. So, so I guess I felt that because I carried him because he was mine, I had to take care of that. But I never felt like Jason was at a place or should not have corrected him or disciplined him or whatever. I fully supported how he felt.
Right.
I think because we're so similar in our upbringing, our parents raised us in the same manner.
Right. Yeah, that's good. So y'all really came from a dynamic. You didn't really have kids who had maybe more of a rebellious nature. Y'all had good kids, and y'all still have good kids. Now the Reeves, I'm just kidding. Y'all got good kids too. So Jason, Missy, talk to me about that. How did y'all? Because y'all picked up, Jay and Levi were younger. They were. You watched them through their teenage years, and Jason, you have a little stronger stance of, being that this is my home, that role model place with that. So tell me your thoughts on this.
I always would take care of Levi and Caitlin, and Misty would take care of Jay and Ashley. Now, if we was out in town and she wasn't around or something, and if they both did something, I would get both of them. You know what I mean? And that's just the way I am. And so I wouldn't go whoop one and say, might get it when we get home. I tear them both up at the same time and explain to them later what happened.
Oh, Lord help us. So if you want Jason's email address or cell phone, I'll be glad to give it to you. I'm just kidding. DHR didn't exist when you were raising your kids, did they?
Not much.
I'm playing. No, they are great parents and great grandparents. All right. So, hey, I'm gonna ask one more question, and I want you guys to give your best advice here. Our goal is 30 minutes, and we're about 26 right now. So, through every season, from toddlers to teenagers to now, you guys who have adults, what is your best advice to those parents who are watching this, who are inevitably probably in one of those seasons? What would you tell them? And if you want to speak to one season specifically, or just an overall arching advice over what's on your heart. But they're watching this because they're probably in one of those seasons. What would you say to those parents? Your save the best for last advice that we can give?
I think mine would be when you come to the point of the realization. I know I'm speaking as a boy here because I guess boys are a little different than girls in this, maybe. But when we came to the point where we realized Jake, what he saw between me and Brady, that I couldn't give him that love, affection that he really needed because he needed it from his own father, right?
Yeah.
So when we come to that realization, I don't know, it eased that part of it up, right? Like it was just something missing till you come to that conclusion, right?
Right.
That makes any sense.
Yeah, it's rare.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you were a role model for Jake, he knew in the back of his mind you wasn't his biological father, and
So the crop your lap, the hugs, it was just something he didn't come to do. And I think as he say jealousy, it was just missing in his life, right? He couldn't get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Did you have to reach a place where you're okay with that? I guess if somebody's watching today and they feel like their child's struggling with that, did you have to reach a point where you go, hey, I'm okay knowing I can't give him that, but I'm gonna give him my best. So you had to arrive there in yourself. So good advice. Jason Missy, we're gonna end with the Jacksons right here. So give me through all the seasons you guys have walked through.
Who did he say?
Jacksons did.
No,
say
go
Jason?
Reeves. Go Reeves. We're gonna
Reeves.
save the Jacksons.
Okay. I thought you were skipping us.
No, go ahead.
Well, there's a lot of things. Like I said earlier, I think a lot of as you're younger and then trying to love kids that are not yours, like they are yours, be intentional in everything. Because like I said, there's a lot of things I look back, I could have done different. But right now, that just in a particular season, I've already talked to 2 different families that are in this. And I see now we walk through things sometimes to help others walk through those very same things. And I've had 2 different families come to me. And like we talked earlier, because one set of rules was so different in one house than they were the other, or it may not just be that, it may just be anything, but one child decides to leave the home to go live with the other child when that child has lived with you all their life. We've walked through that very heartbreaking season. And it's hard. It's hard to learn to walk through that. And I've had 2 families come up to me dealing with that very same thing. And my advice to them was, it's kindly elementary, but just what helped me is I stayed on my knees. Through all of it, I prayed, I give it to God, and I believe that he would bring good out of it. So like it sounds very elementary, but I think there's a lot of families that start to deal with that when they have a child that goes to another house and that the rules are different. You're so strict in this area and my dad's not strict in this area or my mom's not strict in this area. And then that the child decides, I want to go live with this other parent. Trust God in the season, keep praying, keep staying faithful, and he'll work it all out.
That's good.
And can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing, 2 things. The one thing is not to give up and don't throw in the towel just because you're frustrated, because after your kids get older, we look back at all the frustration, the days you felt like pulling your hair out and just beating them and all that. You look back and it's funny and it's memories and it will get better. Just don't give up. And another big thing is dads need to step up in the house, be the spiritual leader, the men of God, and be an example to the boys, to the girls, and be that example. And don't just walk out and say, let mom take care of it, but you be the spiritual leader God's called you to be. And that's a huge part of it, is the men standing up and being the men in the house and being what God's called us to be.
That's good. All right, John and Joy. John and Joy. Yeah.
We can't hear. It must be the internet. I don't know. I guess throughout the different phases of there, because ours were fairly young. I guess Luke was 6. He was the youngest. And it does change with their age, teenage years, and whether they're in ball. Some are in ball, some don't want to do things or do other things. And to Jason's fact, I think the most important thing is also you got to spend time on the marriage. You got to be focused on you too a lot, because if you can be a partnership in it and know that you love each other, and that's the most important part. The kids, it's going to take care of itself. It's going to take some work, but you'll figure it out, because I just said that you're not going to give up because you believe in your marriage, and that just gives you the just the strength to fight through it, stay with it, and just like Misty said, just a lot of prayer, you're going to fight. Just know you're going to fight. There's going to be fights. You love each other, and you stay the marriage part of it.
Stay a united front.
United front, yeah.
That's good. And I'm glad you ended with that, because that was actually going to be what I wanted to echo is all of your children and everybody who's watching via the live stream. You look at Jason and Misty, and who they're empty nesters. They've got their kids out of the house, and the Green Hills and Jacksons both still have children in the house, but the day will come when they're empty nesters. And at that point is not when you want to go, hey, we'll start building our marriage and being strong as a marriage. Then you don't just cohabitate till that point. Is that you realize that the greatest influence I think that happens in a children's life is when there is consistency in a healthy mom and dad who are loving each other. And in a blended family situation, whatever led to that family being blended, whether it was death or it was divorce or whatever brought to that, there's already some level of hurt and pain and disconnection that child has probably had to walk through. So to bring stability of consistency in your marriage, I think is huge on so many levels. And so as we do wrap up, I want us to pray together. If you're watching this live stream, I want us to pray, and I want you to know that we serve a God of redemption. We serve a God of forgiveness. You're not a failure because maybe you've come out of a failed marriage or a failed situation. Take where you're at right now, put it in God's hands, and watch him grow and bloom and redeem all those situations that the enemy wanted to bring to death and destruction with. And so not to get my preacher hat on, but you do need to know that there's no situation too big or too bad that God is not strong enough to wrap his arms around it and to speak life into what the enemy meant for death. So I will echo before I lead us in one last prayer together. I do echo this. If you need just somebody to talk to, love to have conversation with you. Call the church office. We'll get you in connection with somebody who understands your story and where you're at. So let's pray together, and then we'll wrap up for tonight. All right, Father, I thank you for God, the men and women who are watching with us tonight. God, Lord, each of them have an individual story of the journey that they have walked to get to the place that they're at. And Father, I thank you that you're the God that meets us in the middle of our story. Father, you're the God of moments. You're the God of divine intervention. And Lord, I pray if there's hurts and wounds, you'd be the God that heals those hurts and wounds. God, if there's disappointment, God, I pray you'd be the God that never disappoints. And Father, that every mom who's watching, every dad who's watching, that they would feel your love wrapped around them, that you give them supernatural wisdom. And as they draw close to you, Father God, may you draw close to them and lead and guide their family into, Lord, your purposes and your plans for each one of these precious children, each one of these families. And God, will you speak your blessing over them in the name of Jesus. Amen and amen. All right. So, hey, God bless you guys. Give us a like and a share on this live stream. Share it with your friends, family that you think that this could be helpful to. That's our whole goal inside of this. So, Green Hills, Jacksons, Reeves, thank y'all for participating with us tonight. We love you guys. All right. We are going to sign off.